Miss Lisa Keys. Who I miss? Adrian Artist, Miss Charlotte Jordan, Mom. Appreciate you being here. Shell, I know you back in the stage watching. And I just sent this to my nephews and my brothers in the group chat. So they probably, a couple of them probably done tapped in with us as well. So hold up, man. Before I get started, I tried to switch my screens today and do something different, and it's causing too much trouble. So I need to switch back over here because I feel more comfortable. So bear with me, folks. All right, here we go. A lot better. So again, man, tonight, like I said, we're gonna be talking about the real reason men struggle to connect. So we're gonna just start off with just the definitions to kind of set the tone. And at any time, if you guys feel like, man, these definitions is bogus, they kind of whack or something like that, and you want to make any adjustments or anything like that to them, feel free to feel free to feel free to chime in and let me know. So the first one tonight is connection. So again, the title of the show is called "The Real Reason Men Struggle to Connect and How to Fix It." So connection, the emotional and relational bond formed through trust, communication, and shared experiences. What do you guys want to say, add, take away? Are y'all good with this? One thumbs up, rolling good with it.
I can go with it. Shared experiences is okay. I can live with it. Yeah.
Okay. And the next one is male isolate. So male isolate is the state where men lack meaningful friendships or support networks despite interaction.
Are we gonna dive into this one? Because I think that's more.
Yeah, I think that's at least I think that's at least a start. I think that's at least a start to where we're gonna go right now.
Okay.
All right. Y'all cool with that right now?
Yeah.
All right. So we're all men up here. You can get rid of this one. We're all men up here. And we all have been through different things in our life. We went through, adolescence, we went through our teenage years and puberty, and then we went through the military, being, privates and enlisted, and then we went on to become leaders and different things like that. So, but throughout life, sometimes, we've had good connections, sometimes we didn't, sometimes, or maybe we had deep, meaningful friendships. And some of those friendships that we have developed early on in our military career, some of us still have. I don't really have a lot of brand new relationships. Most of my relationships with my tight boys are 20, 30 years old, so we've been together for a long time. But with that being said, why do you think so many men find it difficult to build deep, meaningful friendships? Now, first of all, this is automatically assuming that it is difficult to build deep, meaningful friendships. If you want to switch it up, make adjustments to this question, and you don't necessarily have to agree with this narrative. I'm definitely open to a different perspective on this question.
I think I'll switch it up a little bit because I don't think that men aren't. I think people expect for me, like, you don't find men talking about that's my BFF, that's my bestie, and this, that, and the other. You find a lot of other people doing that, non-men. And I think that society tends to expect everybody to be the same. So if I have 1, 2, 3, people think I don't have any. I don't have a lot. I'm supposed to have this and I'm supposed to have that. So I don't think it's that necessarily that men don't know how to build. I think that they take value in the ones that they do build with, and it may just be twos and fews instead of a bunch of people that just hanging around.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, twos and shoes. I do like that perspective. I think when I look at this question, I don't think, for the most part, most men believe they lack meaningful relationships, and I'm careful with that. I don't think they believe they lack meaningful relationships. I think at a later point in time, it may be revealed to them that the relationships that they have were not as meaningful as they thought they were. And so I think when it comes down to interaction, relationships, things of that nature, I think wherever a person is in that space, in that relationship, they believe that relationship is as good as it gets. And then at a later point in time, it's revealed to them, whether it's through a circumstance that involves them or it's an opportunity that could include them, something of that nature. And I'm not talking about out there living your best life or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about something simple such as conflict resolution or whatever that looks like, right? Sometimes conflict reveals to you that the relationship that you have is not where you thought it was. And because of the struggles trying to come through the conflict, that's telling you more about that relationship. So I think when we look at this, most people don't, most men, not people, most men don't believe that they struggle with creating meaningful relationships, but later on it's revealed to them. And then the issue with them is that they have a ceiling in their mind about where relationship, like the ceiling of relationship for them. So they know how to build and nurture relationships like they did before, but to go beyond that, they're not aware of, we're not aware of that. And unfortunately, because of the society that we live in and whatever the case may be, it's not cool for men to go and sought relationship help. It's something that we frown upon. So what we do is we resolve within ourselves that, hey, I'm good with what I got, and that's just it.
It was interesting. I see this question. I see it both ways. As I'm looking out right now, um, I started a group chat a couple of months ago. You know, I haven't been gaming for a long time. And then I figured out, at some point, I don't know, for but whatever reason, gaming was is a way of connecting in my family amongst the men. My brother and I used to game. I remember us playing Madden 88, a long time ago. I remember us playing, um, what was that game? Like a track and field game on Sega. He got two sons, they game. I got three sons, all my sons game. I got nephews, they all game. You know what I'm saying? And today I was at work and my phone kept pinging. So what I did, I started a group chat and we're all in it. And my phone kept pinging and pinging and pinging. But so I cut notification off. I did something so I couldn't hear it anymore. And then I looked up and there was 51 messages in this group chat from my sons to my brother to all of these guys, all of these men have been coming together. So I definitely see all of this, and I don't even know where I stand on this question is I don't know if I believe that it is difficult for them to build. But I also definitely side and understand what coach says, how certain things and certain relationships may not be revealed to us until a later time. But I got it's the youngest in there is in that group chat is my brother's son, Washay. Yeah, that's his real name, Washay. And then I'm the oldest one and I'm 49. So we got from 20 years old, I think Washay's 21 to 50, all in this group chat, different, and we're all communicate. My son's in the military, my brothers in Virginia, we're all in different states and stuff like this, and we're all coming together. And I'm hoping that at some point those relationships get deeper and those bonds get stronger and stuff like that. I'm hoping that, and I know they're not friends and they're family, but I think sometimes you can be both, especially when you're talking about your cousins and different stuff like that. So I do think that sometimes it can be difficult to build, but I don't think it's necessarily all men or maybe not even the majority. So um I don't know if I added too much to it other than just telling the story, but I'll move on to the next question if you guys don't have anything else to add to this. All right. All right. So as we move on, how has society's definition of masculinity shaped men's ability or inability to connect with others?
I saw you reaching. I thought you was reaching for a coach.
Yeah, I was. My board was acting up here. Um, So this kind of goes, I think it's provide triggers and evolution and I'm sorry, triggers for evolution and his divine appointment kind of mentioned that just a little bit. Um, I think for the most part, when you look at what the cultural norm, the cultural definition of what masculinity looks like, the definition of what manhood looks like that's given to a young boy, the environment in which he grew up in and had the ability to see it. I think a lot of times what ends up happening is that they adopt that version of what masculinity looks like to them. And a lot of those spaces, you did not necessarily see emotions being expressed, deep conversations that reveal the inner parts of a person, being able to go to counseling and have that be a thing that is not only a need in our culture, but is also welcomed in our culture. Those things weren't necessarily made available. So what ended up happening is that most men they adopt this notion of what masculinity looks like, and then that's just it. And sure, that may have grown over the course of time, depending upon what they have done for themselves in the space of growth and development. But then, by that same token, they may have not had that, and so in essence, they continue along this path of a idea of masculinity, which reveals only the side of them that says my idea of who I am is 100% accurate, and there's absolutely nothing outside of what I know that I can learn, unless someone else who has a higher understanding of what masculinity looks like can reveal it to me. Now, there's a challenge with that because now how am I able to discern whether or not another person who has a higher understanding of masculinity looks like? So you end up in these conversations going back and forth, men about manhood, and and then you'll hear other conversations which include people other than men. A real man will, like, how do you know? So you have this perception, right? I have this idea of manhood, and then I hear what other people say about what a man should do, and it just kind of creates this fog of information to where some people have a pretty decent understanding of what manhood looks like, but then that's not complete information at all. So now you're growing in understanding what that looks like. Again, going back to provide triggers for evolution, what he said previously is like, do we really know who we are? And I agree with that 100%. Like I think there's a big chasm, if you will, when it comes down to a person's development and growth along the path of having a good idea of their personal, like your identity, like who am I? And then getting to the space to where you find comfort in that and esteem where you can express that to the world. Well, a lot of us in our younger years, we were insecure. Well, why? Because we weren't secure within ourselves about who we were. Therefore, now me expressing manhood could have been something that looked more so along the lines of passivity. But then there's another side of that to where it just was on the opposite end of the spectrum to where it was just aggression. So now when you look at this notion of masculinity, this notion of societal definitions of masculinity, it is confusion waiting to happen. And then we try to figure out why our communities are the way they are. Hey, you're muted, bro.
Dang, thanks. I think provide triggers may be a female. She said, I think as a woman.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna jump to this question, then we'll get back to ours, if that's okay. So our men, first of all, thank you for your provide triggers for evolution. Thank you for your question, and everybody else who has been responsive and asking questions in this chat. Really appreciate the engagement. And while you at, go ahead and hit that like button and share this and share this with somebody else. So are men given cultural spaces for the development of self from an emotional standpoint? What do you guys think?
No, they're given an idea of who they should be by somebody 9 times out of 10 who aren't what they are or who they should become. And when we're talking in this realm, when we're talking masculinity, I think some people think that masculinity, as Coach was saying, is that rah-rah person, that always hype person, that you have to be this, beat your chest. Like, I think I'm a masculine person, not because I play sports, or I could play sports. I could go get my nails and my feet done with my daughters, not painting and all that, but I could do things of that nature. Doesn't make me any less masculine. I think masculinity has less to do with how I portray myself and more or less of who I am. Like when it comes to emotions, like, am I a reactive person? Like if I'm a reactive person and fly off the handle anytime anyone says something, am I, just because I bow up, just because I get loud, does that put me in a masculine image? No, it puts me in a feminine image if you really think about it, because I'm not controlling that. But if I learn how to control instead of manipulate, then it becomes more or less, okay, I can be that masculine figure who knows how to go up and down when it's called for, not necessarily just off the whim of someone else pulling my strings.
Yeah, I agree. And first and foremost, let me apologize. I hope if I refer to provide triggers as a man, I do apologize. But thank you for clearing that up for me. To this question, though, I love this question because when I look at cultural spaces for development, it should be a space of learning, right? But it's not a space of learning. It's a space of dictating, mandating, directing, expecting all of these other things. And so what ends up happening, if, again, going back to what I just said previously, my perspective of manhood is provide and protect. Why? Because that's all you've ever told. So at the end of the day, if provision isn't the primary focus and protection isn't the primary focus, like, do I have the opportunity to sit down and exhale and be a little disappointed and frustrated because I didn't achieve the goal that I wanted to achieve for this family? Who in the household will actually nurture that if that's allowed? Have you ever seen that grown up? I haven't. Right. So that's kind of like what I'm saying. So if you've never seen it growing up, then it kind of creates in your mind this expectation to not expect it. I like to tell these little stories about, you hear things growing up, these little nurture rhymes and things of that nature. You know, girls are sugar and spice and everything nice, and guys and boys are frogs and snails and puppy dog tails and things of that nature. So that kind of sets a precedence of your understanding of what boys are to be. Girls are given a space to kind of express themselves to such a degree. Boys, get up, stop crying, brush it off. It'll be all right. It's okay. So now that kind of sets the narrative. So now you want me to be expressive in my young 20s at the end of the day when I've never gotten to the point to understanding what that looks like. Can you handle if I express myself honestly? Or is your perception of me expressing myself kind of watered down? Like I shouldn't be emotional when it comes down to certain things. Sure, it hurts a man's heart when it comes down to certain things that actually happen within the family dynamics. But at the end of the day, those certain things, which I'm going to intentionally not name here, is that your perception of what should have happened if this did not work out the way you see it to work out. Well, did we have any consideration of what that does to him on the backside? So to that question about it was and I'm mixing my words up. There we go. Cultural spaces for development? Absolutely not.
So I heard everything that y'all said, and I'm 100% in agreement with all of that. Now, as you guys were talking, I was also thinking about more of this. So, do you think that in order for men to kind of learn how to like become not necessarily more emotional, but more in control of their emotions and not necessarily afraid to express emotion, do you think that they have to be shown to them, or like to where they have to be in a place where someone kind of says, you know what, it's okay, young man, it's okay to express yourself, it's okay to do certain things, or you know what I mean? Like, do you think that that kind of has to happen, to have to be shown, or they have to be in a space for that to happen in order for men to kind of start expressing themselves in those ways? Because as you mentioned, growing up, sit down, be quiet, toughen it up, put some salt on it, put some butter on it, get back out there, drink out the water hose and keep playing. That's how it was. So do you think that we have to be shown that, or in the space where someone said it's okay, in order for us to kind of get it?
The best form of teaching is modeling. So for young boys growing up, they should be able to see that. They should be able to see daddy handling his business, but they should also be able to see daddy as a human as well, right? That speaks to the holistic aspects of man, right? It's not that man is without emotion, but in the midst of modeling that, that little boy should also see his father regulate those emotions well. He can express them, just don't become overly expressive when it comes down to it. He's not led by his emotions. His emotions does not become the decision maker of his life. He expresses certain things to a certain degree and he regulates as well. That's the thing that little boys need to be able to see, right? Because the other side of it, if you don't see it, once you get to the point of expressing it, now you become overly expressive of it. And so that becomes problematic. So to your question, modeling is the best form of teaching.
I wholeheartedly agree because I think with everything when we're talking about raising children and relationships, it's all about cultivation. And if you aren't cultivating, what are you doing? You just existing. Where like I was at my grandson's football game last night, and there was this two little girls, and they had to be around 6, 5, and 6 or whatever. And the way they were reacting, you could tell they saw it modeled somewhere. And the parents or whomever was in charge of them, I'm looking like, man, they just rolling their necks and talking and back and forth to adults, not to each other, to adults. Where I'm thinking like, that's sad because if they're this age going sporadic like this, what happens when they're teenagers? What happens when a person of authority tries to say something to them? And when we were talking about the boys don't cry. And then now we just flip the whole thing. Oh, boys cry, yada. Yes, boys cry. Males and females cry. But I think that it has to be cultivated to say, hey, we don't cry about everything. And if you cry, this is how you get over it. You have to show, like, even parents argue. Parents have arguments. People have arguments. So when you don't show them how to get past it, when you don't show them how to come to a resolve, that's where you have people of today and they doing the cancel culture. You don't like Honey Nut Cheerios, you cancel. Like, over the silliest things. And everything becomes trivial to people with a little bit of sense because we're looking at everybody else like, really? That's what you're tripping about? But that's what the world's become. You're muted.
You hear me? Okay. Yeah, I've said that. I don't even know. It don't even matter what I said anyway. Sandon, thanks. Sandon, thanks for being here. I saw you pop up in the chat, and I appreciate your comment as well. That's one of my homework right there. Hey, hit me up if you wanna work out in the morning. Text me. I saw another one. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, I don't know, man. I just saw him in the chat. I don't know why. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. So Lisa Keys had a question in there, and she said, "How can you learn unless you are taught, or is it exampled?"
I'm not sure if that was a question. I mean, I know it's a question mark, but I think that was a statement. I'm not sure.
More rhetorical. Okay. I'll move on. All right. So the next one is I got a personal question. This is for the chat. This is for the audience and the panel. So, what's one relationship or friendship in your life that saved you or changed you for the better, besides the creator? And this is for the audience and the panel. Now, I will start now, and I will say it like this: it doesn't. That word "changed" is a lot right there, right? Because I don't think necessarily that someone can change you, but I do think that you can be in situation to where you can grow and you can become a better version of yourself. So I'm going to start with this. My relationship or friendship that changed my life for the better has been the one with all of you guys. Now, whether that was Elevated Dialogue, Coach's Corner, or Empower Perspective podcast. When I started this journey and got in front of this microphone about 3 years ago, I didn't know who Roland was, and I didn't know what a coach was. You know what I'm saying? And now here we are, Friday night, August the 22nd, 2022, 2025. I'm years off. I saw the twos over there. I got the bifocals on, so I was on the wrong part of the glasses. So but what I'm saying, like, here we are over here, we laughing and we joking and we having a good time. We talking about some good stuff. One of my homeboys, Sandon, is in here. You know, it's a lot of ladies in here and a lot of other people in here engaging with us here tonight. And this has changed my life way for the better. Like, I've had some really deep conversations. I've had some heart-to-heart conversations. I've had a lot of great interactions with you brothers and stuff over the last few years. So I know, like, we're on the topic of struggling to connect and different things like that with men, but over the last few years, I've had nothing but great connections, you know, through social media. You know, I didn't know Coach. I met Coach through a mutual friend. And I know some of y'all may have heard this before, but maybe everybody haven't heard this. I didn't know who Roland was. I didn't know who Gaddy was. I didn't know who Nick D was or Lisa Keys was or all the other people in the chat. But over the years, I've learned to grow a great what's the word? Grow really fond of a lot of these people and enjoy coming on here and looking forward to, well, what's Lisa Keys gonna say tonight in the chat? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, like, I look forward to coming here on Friday nights and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? And Coach always talked about, you know, the relationship is the, you know, the most important person. You know, and for me and for all you gentlemen, this has been a great relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I've been enjoying all of this. You know what I mean? So one relationship or friendship in my life that changed me for the better has been this one with you gentlemen and all the men that I've met on these podcast streets and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all of this stuff over the last couple of years. So that's mine.
I'd have to say a newfound relationship with my mother as well as my children, because my mother, because of what the demons that she dealt with when I was growing up and the things that I held against her when I did grow and it was time to have a conversation, she actually had the conversation and we actually talked and she actually listened and I listened, and you know, that helped, I guess, take some of the burden that I was holding in and holding against her, take that away so that I could actually now take that relationship, turn it around and go to my children. And because of some of the things that happened with us, I went to them and apologized and had conversations with them to where our relationship actually flourished now. It wasn't just, okay, because nobody's holding this, nobody's holding that. And it helped me see that it's okay as a man to apologize when you make a mistake. Don't just buffalo your way through it. And if you're going to say you're trying to make it right, you got to make it right. You know, ain't no, okay, oh, I'm trying, I'm working on it. No, just do it, like Nike says. So I think with those two relationships, for me, allowed me to see me in a better light, where I was hurt on this end and then where I hurt people on that end. And it was where I could make changes and corrections within.
So first and foremost, Garfield, I appreciate you saying that. I want to make sure I address that. I don't want it to go without being acknowledged. And likewise, I would definitely say I definitely value the fact that we had that mutual friend that connected us, and then we've just kind of, you know, skyrocketed from that point on. So definitely a valued relationship. But I do want to include another one. And some of you, a few of you may know this person. I interviewed this person when I first started podcasting. And if you were at the conference on Saturday, you heard me talk about him a little bit as well. And that is Sean Perry. Sean Perry was very influential. Like he showed up at a very pivotal time. We knew each other prior to in the Army. We kind of separated after I retired and he retired. And then next thing you know, we kind of reconnected in the contracting world. And when we reconnected in the contracting world, we had this conversation. And it was just him just like testing the waters because we kind of thought alike. We viewed things alike. And that's what kind of guided me along a particular path. And, still a great friend. We don't talk every day, but when we do talk, we spend a lot of times catching up. And he's been trying to get me to move to Alabama for the longest. But I'm not going to do it. I love him dearly, but I'm not going to do it. So to your point, I do believe, going back to bring this full circle, there are definitely relationships that men have that makes them better.
I definitely agree with that, man. I appreciate all y'all, because I did ask for something personal. So I appreciate everybody up here who shared, their personal stories and stuff like this. Yeah, I definitely shout out to my mom, Charlotte Jordan, about Sister Vaughn. Sister Vaughn was she was a rock. Her and her husband, Brother Vaughn. So I used to reach out to them too. Yeah, definitely. In what ways do fatherhood or marriage impact how men maintain friendships? I'll start with this one. Man, I remember early on, when I was married a long time ago. It was a lot more challenging, right? Because I got married at 20, right? So I was in the military. So I still was wanting to hang out, still was wanting to be in the streets a little bit, still wanting to hang out in the barracks. And you know how it was after sergeant's time training on Thursday, we want to go hang out and go to the bar and the clubs and all. So those are things I wanted to do. So my marriage, good, bad, or indifferent, was impacting or affecting my friendship. Yes, I should have been more focused on my relationships, but good, bad, or indifferent at 20 years old, I was still wanting to do other things, So, like I said, sometimes marriage can. And then one of the things that I think a lot of men do early on in marriage is if they start telling their wife all of the negative stuff about they boys. They like, oh yeah, I hang with old boy. Yeah, he be doing this, he be cheating on his wife, he be doing all this other, he be running the streets, blah, blah, blah. And then now all of a sudden your wife like, well, I don't want you hanging around that joker no more. Why? Well, he doing all this stuff, so you must be doing that too. So, like I said, good, bad, or indifferent, sometimes depending on what your focus is in your life at that time, your marriage can impact your relationships. Now, at the same time, I could have also had friends like I have now, to where it doesn't affect my friendships because my friends understand that there's a line. Even up here, coach will tell you, hey, he always tell me, hey, brother, I'm respectful of your time. When we have to do shows and stuff like that, I'm very respectful. He always let me know because he understands that I'm married and I got other things going on. So younger, it affected it in a negative way because my focus was, even though I was married, it was focused still on my relationships with my friend. But now my relationship with my wife, kind of supersedes the relationships I have with some of my boys and stuff like that. So this is a lady I live with. So you know what I mean? So I'm worried about what goes on up in here, and then we worry about what goes on the outside of that. So like I said, I think some of this kind of depends on the focus you have and where your mindset is and what relationship kind of has priority in your life. And that kind of determines like how your marriage may be affected by all of this.
I talked about the fatherhood piece earlier, but I want to talk about the friends, kind of like what you were saying, because I believe you have to be intentional about the relationships external to you, especially when you're married. And I have a philosophy, like the friends that you have, as especially if you're married, the friends that you have, they're an extension of that relationship. So what does that mean? That means like I shouldn't have friends that don't support the fact that I'm married. Even if they're single, that's fine. They can be single, but do they support the fact that I'm married? Are they parts of the like the stability of the relationship as a whole. Do my friends see my spouse as a sister or vice versa? Her friends see me as their brother. I think that's a very important thing. So it can be very impactful because I think everybody has seen the other side of it. I think everybody has seen where, you know, the friend try to entice the husband, go out to the club or whatever that looks like. Like, yeah, that's common information. I don't like talking about that stuff because that stuff to me is like a waste of brain cells. Everybody's seeing, you see that all the time on TV. So getting outside of that, what can it look like? The friends should look like an extension of the relationship. Therefore, it's in support of the relationship and it becomes stable ground to make sure that that relationship flourishes. So that's kind of like where I'll go with this one.
I think when you prioritize right, like I had supervisors when I was still in the military. Supervisors would tell me, and I was young in the military, and they would tell me that your place of duty, if my children had an appointment, that's my place of duty. If my children had a parent teachers conference meeting or something of that sort, they would tell me that's your place of duty. So to me, they were instilling in me that this is a job. Family is always there. Family comes first. And I think when you have people in your life that push family first, I don't want to know, I don't need to know what you have going on, but work on this, family first. So whether it's your job, whether it's your friends, I'm with Coach, if you have friends that are trying to take away from your house, then you're allowing them that space and you're not being a protector. And I think that whole protector thing goes both ways, because as a protector, when you're in a relationship, there's some things that she's protecting me from, that I'm protecting her from. So it goes both ways. And when you allow work or anything to come between what's always supposed to be there, then you're neglectful, and it'll show in your, not just your relationship with the family. It'll show, some people say, oh, they if they acting like that here, imagine what they acting like at home. So sometimes you have situations to where you can tell, like, oh, they ain't doing no parenting at home because they acting the fool out here. Whereas when I was out with my grandmother, she'll lean back, give me that look, and that stopped all of that mess because I knew when I got home what was going to take place. But I think that people need to do less of the peer pressure when it comes to their relationship, because, and I've had to tell the Sergeant Major, hey, you ain't got a nickel in this dime when you're talking about my relationship. If you're trying to be helpful, cool. But if you just trying to, stick your rank in over here,
you ain't got a nickel in his dime.
Yeah, you ain't got a nickel in his dime.
So he batting 1,000 a day. That's 2 for 2.
Hey, but yeah, I think that's one of those things where every person has to mature in who they are so they can stand up and make those proper decisions concerning their family and their well-being.
Charlotte Jordan says sometimes a man may feel like he has to choose between the two. Y'all agree or disagree?
Like I said, the only reason he feel the way he needs, the only reason he feel like he needs to choose between the two is because he had friends that do not align with his relationship and they don't support it.
That's like if you and Shell if y'all good and I'm sitting up there like, come on, man, me, Coach Gaddy, we going to Columbia, man. Let's go. Like, what? Like, no, you ain't got to choose. You going home there, you sleeping at home. So you can come out with us. But at the end of the day, we're leading you away from your first ministry.
Yeah, them Army, them kitchen pass. That's when I first learned about the kitchen pass.
However, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing for him to choose to go to Columbia, right?
Yeah, part 2.
I think sometimes, and I'm doing this intentionally, because I think sometimes we confuse quality time with quantity of time, right? There's nothing wrong with her having girlfriends and girls going to hang out. There's nothing wrong with men having homeboys and them hanging out. We don't say boyfriends around here. with
There you
men that
go.
are homeboys and hanging out with them. There's nothing wrong with it, right? Because at the end of the day, I know the quality of friends that they actually have, right? If we get out of that, I'm gonna say this for the sake of conversation. If we get out of that immature mindset that if they're not with me, then what are they doing? Then I don't necessarily feel that I need to be around you 24/7. But when I am around you, I appreciate the time that we are together and we make the most of that time. It's a big difference.
Yep. I don't even think you should marry somebody that you have to worry about what they doing when you ain't around them.
And that's an insecurity. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not
And
anything that other person putting on you. That's something you already have. And that's you need to do the work on that. If I can't trust you unless I see you, why am I don't need to be with you. Because if you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it whether I'm there or not.
it don't take long.
Nah.
How can men learn to open up emotionally without feeling less than or weak? I ain't opening up that can.
I'll jump out there in the street first. How can men learn to open up emotionally without feeling less than or weak? Well, it's some work. It's some foundational work that must be done first, right? I think first and foremost, you need to understand you opening up emotionally does not necessarily require another person to do something. That's one of the biggest misconceptions about emotion. Just because I feel a particular type of way, that does not mean that you are mandated to do something because I feel this way. Understand that you sharing how you feel is just you expressing something to a person. Now, if it's because of something they did, that's totally different. They did something to you and you're expressing it now because, like you said, the relationship is the most important person in the relationship, right? Because of that, me sharing this with you now, it's up to you to figure out what you need to do in response to what I'm sharing with you. Maybe I might just have the wrong perspective of what you did. That could be a thing. And the emotions that I feel were self induced. So understanding the prerequisite work that must be done, understanding who you are, your identity, right? Understanding that your identity comes from a concept of who you are, and that identity gets to the point of you having a healthy esteem of who you are, and then getting to the point of expressing that socially. Once you get to the point of expressing that socially, don't have the notion that people must do something because you feel a particular type of way. That is called manipulation. So all of that foundational work must be done to get to the point of expressing, right? And the notion of men expressing themselves being weak is a fallacy. So that's another part that you have to understand as well. Just because you express how you feel does not necessarily mean that you're weak. Actually, that's a form of strength. So all of that stuff, and again, this is part of renewing your mind. And you guys know, for you guys who know, renewing is more so of like refurbishing. It's almost like rehabbing, rehabilitating, right? You got to gut all of that stuff out, and then you can put the new stuff in. But if you don't take the walls off the house, interior of the house, you may not necessarily expose what's behind the wall. Therefore, you might be putting new stuff, new walls up, and then don't even realize that you need to do some more remediation first. You muted, bro.
I'm agreeing with everything Coach just said because I think that when we look at how men are, we always, focus on the men aspect, and I think sometimes men will take on society's image and not want to do the work because, as Coach was saying, I may look weak, I look soft, but when you can find support groups, therapy, and that's going to not just call you out, but help you out because we like to joke. And if it's just us and we're in a conversation and I may say something that's heartfelt to me, the way you respond, it's not going to hurt me because I know that at the end of the day, there's a love there that says, I want to see him get beyond this and get better. So even if you joke, it's like, I know they just joking and it's not something that I'm going to hear again outside of this setting. But I think we need to get to the point to where we know ourselves because I think that's the majority of the problem. that men don't know who they are. They know who they are as a husband, know who they are as a father, know who they are on their job. But when it comes to them, dang, what do I like to do? Man, or who am I? When I look in the mirror, do I see this perfect being that other people may see, or do I see this flawed being that other people may see? Now I want to know the real me. So, and I need some people to know the real me, so that when I'm going through and I come to them, they aren't gonna sugarcoat anything. They gonna give me the real deal, and they gonna talk to me. And it's just as Coach was saying, he's that refurbishing, or like my heart. I always say I got a refurbished heart. Sometimes you got to get rid of the mess. When you get rid of the mess, you can see what you're working with, and then you can build what it needs to be, and not what other people see it as.
I liked everything, and I rock with everything that you guys says. If I want to add a little bit to that, and that's just that I think trust plays a part in it too. And this goes back to working on yourself and knowing more about who you are and becoming a better version of yourself, and knowing who you can and can't trust with certain information. You don't tell everybody everything. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of young men do. Even me early on in life, being Peter Paul, telling off, saying too much. You don't need to always overshare. And I don't know. I just think, because I think sometimes when you overshare, um, sometimes that stuff comes back on you. So I think as we get younger and we start growing up and maturing, we start to learn who we can and who we can't trust with certain information. There's certain information I can trust Coach and Roland with that I might can't trust, um, Vic or Antoine with, or whoever, you know what I mean? So there are just certain people who may be qualified to handle or to accept certain information that I'm sharing, and others may not be qualified for certain information. So I think, in addition to what you guys saying and learning more about yourself, we also have to learn who we can and who we can't trust with certain information. Charlotte Jordan threw a question out there. She said, "Is there such thing as a man being too emotional?"
Sure. There's a such thing with women being too emotional as well, right?
Hmm.
But you also have to qualify, or should I say, quantify too emotional. That is a matter of perspective, right? So now, when we look at stuff as in too emotional, what do we mean? And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad question. What I am saying is that what might be too emotional for one person may not necessarily be too emotional for the other. But I don't believe that men should be quote unquote too emotional. I think they have to learn how to regulate their emotions so that their emotions aren't the decision maker for their lives.
And I'm with Coach, and I have a friend, and Coach, you met him before. I ain't even gonna put his name out, but it's like this man will cry at the drop of a he cries often. And for me, a person who grew up having his feelings pushed down, and where I was non-emotional, to me it used to be like, oh, you cry too much. But this man is expressive in his emotions, so it's perspective. So then when I learned, like, man, he not just crying because he ain't just crying, oh, I stubbed my toe. He's crying at a certain time, that this is something that he feels passionate about, and he's emotionally connected to his passions. So it's something that's warranted. But me not necessarily knowing how to navigate emotions during that time, I saw it as, oh, he cried too much. And that's what I think people, when you aren't connected to something, you don't have that feeling towards it. Now you see it, oh, he doing too much. And then you'll see, oh, that man, he crying about this. He shouldn't be. No, I'm not standing in judgment over a man feeling a certain way about certain things. Now, if you crying because Walmart ran out of 2-ply toilet paper, we got a problem.
I mean, I might cry if they run out of 2-ply. I ain't used 1-ply since elementary school. I don't think I'm kind of over them toilet paper cuts. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I think everything in me right now want to be like, yeah, yeah. You can be too emotional. I don't know, because I raised boys and I ain't have to raise girls. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if maybe, yeah. I Yeah. bro, that's enough. You've been way too emotional. Every day, we ain't gonna cry about tying these shoes. We ain't doing it every day, brother. Too much. Suck them tears up. Too much. I don't know, man. I get it. It is perspective. It is subjective. What's too much for some? All of that. But for me and my boys, it is a such thing in my house when I raise my son as being too emotional. So again, it's just my perspective.
Again, that's why I said the answer is yes. But
Yeah.
it's men and women, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's a matter of perspective. That's why I'm saying what I'm
Dude,
saying.
definitely, especially on the other side, because if you too emotional, I'm starting to think that you starting to manipulate me. All you doing is trying to get your way. So definitely on the other side too. That ain't a good thing. Moving right along to the next segment, which is would you rather? So, gentlemen, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. I think I got 10 up here, and all you do is just say, "Would you rather? Would you rather do this, or would you rather do that?" It's that simple. Would you rather have 5 close friends or 30 casual? Hold on, pause. And then at any time, if you guys want to go back to something like that, just let me know, and we can get back to it after we go through them. So, would you rather have 5 close friends or 30 casual acquaintances?
I don't need a bunch of acquaintances. So 5.
Agreed.
5. Would you rather be the friend everyone leans on or the one who can lean on others?
Hey,
Yeah. It's just something about let them lean on me.
All right. Would you rather spend a weekend with friends or have 3 hours of deep talk with one close brother?
3 hours.
You say a weekend with friends.
Weekend with friends or 3 hours with deep talk with one brother?
I think I get more accomplished with the deep talk.
Okay. I thought something was gonna come in there about, kind of depends on who the friends are. But would you rather be known for loyalty or vulnerability?
Loyalty or vulnerability?
Coach, like, what you thinking about?
I mean, it's both. But okay, loyalty if I got to choose one.
Loyalty.
Yeah. Because
Roland's still thinking.
no, because I'm thinking like, because if you loyal, to me, vulnerability comes with that. Yeah, I think when you loyal, I think you have to have a sense of vulnerability, because I can be vulnerable and
not be loyal.
Yeah.
But we can come back to it. All right, we can come back to that one. All right. Would you rather call a friend when struggling or figure it out alone?
I'm a man. I would rather.
See, there you go.
I would rather, but I got to figure it out.
Definitely figure it out alone.
I got to figure it out, man. I'm a man.
I might want to come back to that one too. Would you rather have a friend who tells you hard truth or one who always supports your choices?
Definitely hard truth.
Tell me
hard truth. Would you rather lose money with a friend or lose trust with a friend?
Money.
Oh, money. Let me get rid of that money.
Money.
I lose trust, that ain't a friend.
Yeah, if I lose trust, it's especially at this age, man. Because if I've already gotten to the page where I trust you at 50, bro. Would you rather meet monthly for a deep check-in or weekly for casual hangs?
Deep check-in.
Yeah, give me that monthly for a deep check-in. Would you rather admit weakness to a friend or would you rather admit weakness to a friend or keep it to yourself forever?
If they're a friend, I definitely admit it.
Yeah.
Lock it up. Throw away the key.
You say you're going to keep it?
Lock it up.
It's some things you just, hey, that's your friend. So it feels better when you let it go, man.
I guess it would depend on what the weakness is.
Does it though?
I don't think so.
What's the point of them being a friend then?
Right.
If you were, how can I keep this super PG? If you were horrible in that area, would you tell your best friend?
I have no issues with talking with a friend of mine about stuff like that, but we don't talk.
Okay.
like stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's not something that we would talk about. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, I think that's the arena where, and this isn't a shot at you by all means. I'm taking,
Yeah.
but I think that's the area where we got to get over. Right? That's that machismo,
Mm.
that pride, that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, friends are friends for a particular reason. We can have conversations with them that we can't have with regular people. And not saying that regular people are bad. They have their positions in your life. But at the end of the day, regular people, like the people you encounter with at work and things of that nature, those are the people that make you value the friendships that you actually have. So I can't have and I tie the whole loyalty thing into this. Like, people are loyal to their job, but you're not vulnerable at work. So that's kind of like my point. This is the culmination of the vulnerability question, right? This is me being vulnerable with my friend, because now what I'm sharing with them is how much I value this particular friendship.
And when it comes to this question, it ties back into the question you asked before about the deep conversations. The deep conversations, I ain't coming to talk about the basketball game. I'm coming to talk about something I'm going through.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deep stuff.
So yeah, now it becomes one of them things where it's therapeutic for me to have this. I can shoot the crap with somebody all day, but when we talk, hey, I need to talk. Like, if I call Coach, say, hey man, I need to talk, he gonna sense in my energy that this is a serious conversation.
Yep. I'm with you on that. Would you rather be respected or loved in your friendships?
I don't care about no love, for real. I mean, I care about it, but I think they go hand in hand. So I think people look at respect differently, and people, if you do this and if you do that, they kind of tie you into something, instead of, when I say, if I'm respecting you, I'm showing you love. Because I think a lot of people, well, he ain't tell me.
You can respect your job and not love it.
I don't care about the job. The job, I can get enough. We not talking about job. We talking about relationship.
That's why I'm just trying to make a correlation, trying to separate them, try to separate the love from the friendship, so we could, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because when you put somebody in a friend pile, it's automatic. That ain't like, really. I tell people, like, man, after this long, you family. I know we friends and all, but you family.
I got it.
I disagree with nothing that brother just said. I'm in total compliance.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. But if I had to choose one, I'd take the respect over the love. If I had to, if you pulled my hand, if you pulled my leg, if I had to choose. I don't know. It is would you rather. All right, so which one do we want to go?
I'm laughing at you. Ain't got no job, Tommy.
I got a job somewhere.
You got a job, you doing something.
With this joker right here.
That's why none of that stuff don't affect him. He's like, man, I ain't joking talking about. I ain't worked in 30 years. It ain't a bad thing. What was another one I think we want to get, but we kind of circle back around to the loyalty and the vulnerability one. So I'll leave that one. I definitely like the monthly for deep check-in versus the casual hangs. Yeah. And we can just move on. Yeah, we can go on to the next question. So the next question is, what practical steps can men take to create authentic friends in adulthood?
Practical steps is you come authentically. When you come authentically, I think you'll be able to weed out people who are there just for the weekend, just for the show. I think when you come with, hey, I'm me. Like, everybody ain't gonna like me, and I don't care. And that's my thing, where I don't, like, I'm so into me, where if you don't like me, I'm cool with that. Do it over there, because I don't need you for nothing. So that means the friends that I do have, they accept me for who I am, and I don't put people in my space that can't have a place to where correction can be made. So I don't know. Practical steps is be yourself. I'm like Bernie Mac. If the family don't like you, like,
wall with handcuffs on them and crazy glue on the lips.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it a little differently. Just a little differently. Take the mask off. That's what I say. Take the mask off. I think part of this whole relationship building thing is that people meet others and they're expressing a facade. They're not being their authentic selves, like Roland just said. Take the mask off, right? If you want to be an authentic friend, you must first be authentically friendly, right? Show yourself to be friendly, right? Take the mask off. Be an honest person. Be forthcoming. You don't have to seek to impress people. If that's what you're doing, then you're only showing them your perception of the best version of who you are. And therefore, the lack of authenticity makes people kind of take a step back. So, first, take the mask off. Once you take the mask off, then again, be friendly, right? Look to serve your friends, not looking for your friends to serve you. I think that's where a lot of us go wrong. We're getting in relationships saying, what can this person do for me? What can this person do for me? Or what can this person do for me? No, it should first come from the perspective of how can I help you? How can I help you do this? How can I help you do that? Right. So now you're viewing friendship through a different lens, not a lens to where you're looking for all of them to hoist you up on your shoulders, but you're looking to do the hoisting simply because you view yourself as a friend to them. It's not so much as, I know I can pick up the phone and call Unc and Uncle be there. Yeah, that's true, right? But have I shown myself to be there for Unc when he picked up the phone first? That should be the foundational understanding that I have for relationship. Because regardless of what relationship you talk about, that should be foundational. And if that's not foundational in your mind, then it's only but a period of time before people start looking at you and say, yeah, we were cool up until this, right? And they can tell you exactly when that moment in time happened simply because who they thought you were, you weren't. So take the mask off.
You guys own it. To add to, I think time and space. And kind of what I mean by time and space is you have to spend time in each other's presence so you can show that you are authentic. We have to. Me and Coach had a lot of conversations. Me and Roland, we've had a lot of conversations over the last couple of years. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. I don't know everything about either one of these gentlemen. I've never even physically shaken their hand. I've just known them from the airways. But I've learned a lot more about them, and I've seen certain mannerisms, you know what I mean? And I think, just some of those things like that is that, you have to have time and space in the relationship in order for it to grow as well. Like, you can have all of those things, but like we was talking about, like in the Would You Rather, that once a month check in, that 3 hour deep conversation, like those things, those time and that space in each other's presence. And I think those are a couple of things that are very valuable to friendships and stuff like that, and creating those authentic relationships with your friends and stuff, especially as adults. um I'm gonna get to this one. I'm looking at the time. Actually, this is what I'm gonna do real quick. I saw a couple people popped in, so thank you for coming in. I saw somebody on Facebook that I wanted to acknowledge real fast.
Stephen Kyle.
I think, yeah, Stephen Kyle. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate you for being here. And Shelly and Company. It's Shell. So thank you for being here as well. All right, so I'm gonna move on. Instead of this, I'm gonna go to one of this. I'm gonna go to the first scenario. So a man has friends at the gym. The man has many friends at the gym, but no one he can call at 2 a.m. when life crashes. Is he really connected?
That man has a bunch of people he know at the gym and they do the same thing. But I wouldn't necessarily say friends. I think that's friends like when you're in preschool, everybody your friend. But nah, them ain't his friends.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot to be desired in this scenario to understand. Um, when they say has many friends, that gives me pause to start off with, because at the end of the day, maybe your perception of friendship is way too low. I think we have done that in society. We will have a notion of friends, and so we're asked, if you get asked a particular question, what makes this person a friend? Oh, well, we kind of think the same way. Well, that doesn't make them a friend. It just means y'all think the same way. Oh, this is my best friend. Well, okay, great. So how did that person separate themselves from the other friends? I've known them for 20 years. So I think that's where I would start at with this one, right? The perception of friendship might be low. And then no one he can call at 2 a.m. when life crashes. When life crashes, how does he know, right? Is this an assumption? Has he ever been that person that his friends at the gym can call at 2 a.m.? So it's hard for me to say he is,
Yeah.
but based upon the scenario, the answer is no.
Yeah. Yeah, I see all of that. And I'm looking at friends and stuff like that at the gym. I think especially now in 2025, that word is greatly overused and watered down. Only on Facebook, I only can do friends. I'm like, well, all these people ain't my friends. Like most of these like acquaintances, or even ain't even that. People I maybe at one time in the past tried to market to or try to sell something to. So they're not really my friends. In elementary school when I was there, these kids just got through an argument. It was like, y'all tell your friend this. I'm like, they just got through fighting. They ain't friends. Why y'all keep saying these guys, everybody friends? Everybody ain't friends. So I definitely can respect, everything that you guys said, because that word is definitely watered down. And when you're talking about friends, like, I don't know. So here's another one. The next one is this: your friend only talks about sports and jokes, never feelings. How do you deepen that connection? One thing I did want to say is that I think sometimes we can have friends, but we have layers or categories of friends, right? So I have some friends that maybe they're friends, maybe that ain't the right word, whatever, but we cool, but we only talk about stuff like this. Then I got some boys that we only talk about this stuff. Then I got some guys that we talk about this, and this. We can talk about everything, So I'm wondering how much, in relationship to the last question, last scenario, and this one, how much groups or separation of types of friends matter or plays into all of this.
Sure, I would agree. So that's probably why my answer is going to sound the same.
Mhm.
Again, we only talk about sports and jokes. Well, that's where we connect at.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
where we rock.
That's it. That's it. But again, never feelings. Well, again, have you tried expressing your feelings to them? Have you tried having deeper conversation with those friends that you only sport and joke with? Or do you perceive that this is the extent of our relationship? Well, if that's the extent of your relationship, in your heart of hearts, can you really say that they are friends? Or are we a casual acquaintance that talks about sports and jokes? So that's kind of like where I'll go with this, because again, I don't see it as being different. Again, have you tried expressing yourself to them to see whether or not that's received?
And I think sometimes that never talk about things is because we're waiting on the other person to bring it up instead of us bringing something up. Like if we want to talk about feelings, well, they don't ever talk about feelings. Have you ever talked about it? Have you ever brought it to the table? It may be something that both of you guys were waiting to discuss, but neither one of you, I guess, were man enough to bring it up.
I get it. I get it. Hey, we're gonna move on to the next segment and called Fact or Myth. And then after that, please, please, please stick around. I got a really good question in there that is for us, but specifically for women. Right. So hang around in there, because after this segment, that question is going to be in there. So I want you guys to stick around so you guys can see it. All right. Fact or myth? Fact or myth? Men are naturally less emotional than women.
I would say it's a myth.
Mhm.
Even though some people will say, well, I've seen more emotional women and more, because that's your perception of emotions.
Mm.
Men express emotions It just does not look the same as what you're accustomed to it being expressed. So definitely a myth.
Myth, because
Yeah.
I know people both sides. That's myth.
I think it's myth, and I think it's definitely exactly what you said, Coach. It's perception, and then how men express their emotions. Because we were like, like we'll get into it. Like, you good? Yep, you good? All right, we done. Like, that's it. Like, we've expressed ourselves. We've kind of apologized, and what's understood don't necessarily need to be explained. So we can say stuff, and we have certain bro codes and language that we can share and understand each other. So I'm definitely in agreement with that. Most men over 30 have at least 3 close friends. Facts or myth?
I don't know most men over 30, but
Yeah, I don't either.
at least 3 close friends. That's a perception, and that's
It's definitely perception.
and a lot of people think they have a lot of friends.
I'm trying to expand mine to like even my personal and like family, just kind of people I know at work, different things like that. And I've talked to, I kind of think that I don't know if a lot of dudes have 3 close friends. It may be more my perception, but that's kind of where I'm at.
This
Yeah, I
kinda
think.
goes-
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, this kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. Most people don't necessarily, I think most men, from their perspective, they do have deep relationships until
Mhm.
it's revealed to them later. So, to your question, I would say yes, that is a fact to them because they believe they have 3 close friends. And then later on, this revealed to them some things that they did not understand about friendship, and then they start questioning the relationships that they have.
Vulnerability always makes men appear weak.
I think vulnerability exposes a weakness. So I think, but when you formulate that sentence and say makes men look weak, to who? And
Yeah.
if I'm a man, so if I'm worried about how you see me, like I think that's a weakness in itself right there.
Myth.
Yep. I'm on the myth train.
Myth.
Male friendships decline after marriage.
No.
I think that's a myth.
Well, it depends on the person and it depends on the level of friendship. That's one of them nuanced questions because if you got a real friend, come on. If you got somebody that's looking for you to still be the same person you were when you were 21, I mean, you got.
This goes back to supporting the ones that support the relationship.
Yeah.
Yep. Social media helps men feel more connected.
Oh my God. My bad. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
Man, I got, what is it? I'm, 6,000 something friend followers that I don't even know, don't even associate with.
But where you at every Friday though?
Right. That's what I'm
You've been
saying.
there every Friday for the last 2 years on social media.
But I think that social media, we not even go consider this social media. This is a platform. I think when we say social media, we talk about Facebook, Instagram, all those things. This is something where we come to connect. That's something people just come to throw something out there and put that mask on, as Coach said.
I agree. I agree. I don't think social media as a whole, I think you have to be intentional about what you're doing on social media.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Last one, fact or myth? Loneliness increases men's health risks as much as smoking. We ain't even add that. Loneliness increases men's health risks. Fact or myth?
Okay. You went there. It is actually a scientific fact.
Now you talk about an unhealthy man too. So you're not talking like,
Statistically speaking,
right.
men that are married, right? They have, if I recall it correctly, statistically speaking, men that are married actually have better health and live longer.
And I think when we're talking about loneliness, I think it's a difference when someone is lonely versus someone who wants to be alone.
Correct.
Right? There are some people who just want to be alone. They're like, I'm fine. And I don't think they don't have that as somebody who like wants to be with somebody and they just feeling lonely. So at least that's what I believe. I don't think they're the one and the same.
No, definitely a difference between lonely and being alone.
Yeah. Because you can be in a room full of people and be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
It's about you. It's not about the people.
It's internal.
Yeah.
Mm. All right. So here's the question. I'm glad y'all stuck around here. So this question is for everybody, and for women. How can women, wives, partners, mothers, and friends help men strengthen their connection without shaming them? Again, how can women help men strengthen their connections without shaming them?
Connections with other men.
I think the answer's in the question. Without shaming them. Like I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be just, you
Women.
know, right. And you know, I get it without shaming them. I think, and this kind of goes back to what I'm saying, and I'm not answering for a woman. I'm answering as a man, obviously.
There we go. That's yeah.
I think the key is if a man expresses himself, do you have the ability to listen to what he is actually saying at the level that he's actually saying is? Because if we're being completely transparent, that's exactly what you expect from him. So can you actually hear what he is saying at the level that he is saying it, and then make room for you to understand exactly what he is saying? Not so much as how he is saying. I think a lot of times we focus too much on the how and not the what, right? And because the how tends to overshadow a lot, then you can't hear the what. Well, that's an excuse. I'm sorry. I get it. I'm not taking away from all the other stuff that may be at play, but that is what we call an excuse. The way that you say a thing, sure, matters. But at the end of the day, if that relationship is important to you, then it's not so much as the way that they say it, it's what they're saying and what is behind why they're saying it the way that they're saying it. So part of that shaming thing is not so much as what you say, but it's also the fact that you don't necessarily make the space for what he is saying, hear what he is saying, acknowledge what he is saying, and then you two plot the course to move forward together.
And I think a lot of times people that don't share your enthusiasm for certain things will minimize what you do. Oh, y'all getting on that little podcast tonight? Oh, why y'all always got to be, it's Saturday morning in the fall. Why y'all watching football? You know, things that the man enjoys with his friends or whatever, because you don't, because you feel like it's taken away from you. Instead of expressing yourself, you come with that haphazard talk where you passive aggressive and you saying things to get under his skin, because now you're showing your disdain for what I'm doing and I guess you think it's going to change my mind from doing it, but it's not. And I'm still going to do it. Whereas if we had a conversation and we talked about it and you understood, hey, this is my downtime, this is my pastime, so I can just chill. And instead of like shaming, like you shame all day.
Man, how can women help men strengthen their connection without shaming them? Whole bunch of things I've been thinking about over here. One is KYMS, keep your mouth shut. And what I mean by this is this. If we're talking, let me finish saying what I got to say. Don't interrupt. You know what I mean? That's one of the biggest things right there, is just interruption. You know, we talk about people who are waiting to respond, you know, the whole time you're talking, they just like they ready to come back with a quick response and they're not listening. You know what I mean? So sometimes just be there. Just don't say nothing. Just practice listening. Practice turning on all your listening skills. You know what I mean? When we were talking about connections and connecting, and in order to connect, I think you have to have communication. You know, so how you communicate is going to directly affect your connection you have with that person. So if our communication is jacked up, and I said that, and I'm being funny, but it's serious and being serious at the same time, you know what I'm saying? But I think that learning how to become a better communicator can greatly improve your overall relationship and how you connect with that man. You know, if he's, as just say, he's working and he's trying to become a better version of himself, then you know that's what you have to do better too. If you're always getting very emotional behind everything that's being said and it's distracting and keeping away from you guys moving towards a solution when you have an issue, or then I think then that that's a sign that, hey, look, I need to work on me. There's something in here that needs to be addressed so that I can have a better and a deeper connection with my husband, my partner, my son, or whoever that may be, you know, according to the question. So that's kind of where kind of my thoughts on that. We got one more question, and then we're gonna jump into our final thoughts. So what's one practice that you've used in your own life to keep connection strong, even during busy or hard times?
I think for me, one practice is just check-ins, right? Just checking on people, seeing how they're doing, whether it's text message, phone call, whatever that looks like. I try to, whenever I have a thought about a person, I try to reach out to that person almost instantly. Sometimes that's not ideal because sometimes I might be at work. Sometimes they might be at work. Or if you're like Tommy here, you know, Tommy ain't got no job, so I ain't got to worry about stuff like that. But other than that, you know, just check in, see how they're doing. Not necessarily wanting anything, just checking to see what's going on.
I think as you grow in relationships, you learn what the person needs and wants versus what you want to give them. Because sometimes you got a lot to give, you got a lot to say, and that person, you ain't listened to them, you ain't heard them. But when you stop and when you're communicating, you actually stop and say, man, you can just talk to me. Then you can hear what that person needs versus what you want to give.
I'm gonna double down on Coach, man, when you talk about the check-ins and the texts and stuff like this. You know, like life get busy, life get hard. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I think one of those things is check-ins. And I think along with check-ins is giving grace and understanding too. You know, I had a young man that I used to coach him. I don't coach him anymore, but you know, we still kind of develop a personal relationship outside of all of that, and that's part of not part of it, but I just don't coach him anymore anyway. But um, it wasn't any client, it wasn't no issue with none of that stuff. I'm legal with all of stuff, just FYI. Um, but you know, he was talking about all of that stuff, um hard times, and he was like, man, you know, coach, man, he called me coach. He's like, man, I know I ain't been checking in and I got a lot of stuff going on, and I think one thing we can do is give people grace, you know what I mean, sometimes, because life do get busy sometimes. And he was like, you know, he was like, man, he said, man, I need to hear that, man. He said, because I thought you had kind of fell off. I'm just like, no, man, I understand, man, you young brother, man, you got a lot of stuff going on. You got family, you got a job and stuff like that. So I think being understanding sometimes when, you know, life gets hard and the connection is not there, or it may seem like it's not there for, you know, a couple of weeks or months or something like that, just to say, hey, look, young man, or hey, look, bro, everything's still good over here. I understand, just like you know what I mean, I'm a working man, I got life and struggles and bills and everything just like you do. So I understand that sometimes you get busy, versus sometimes people like, man, I ain't heard from Roland in 2 months, man. I ain't calling that joker no more, man. I'm done with him. You know what I mean? Because I definitely went through my phase of that too. You know what I'm saying? To where I was cutting people off because, you know, I may not have heard from them in a certain amount of time. I fell in to forget, bro, you get busy and you don't check in with everybody all the time either. You know what I mean? So I had to learn to give a little bit of grace, you know what I mean, when it comes to these connections, if I want to maintain them. I got to understand coach get busy sometime, and he may not always have time to chat. He may like, bro, look, I got 15 minutes. I got to take the 15 minutes where I can get it. You know what I mean? Because he's busy and I gotta be respectful of his time too. So I think, you know what I mean, that right there is kind of where I want to stop. And what we're gonna do real quick, not real quick, but we're gonna segue, and you know, if y'all don't got anything else about this, we're gonna segue into our final thoughts. Y'all good? All right, before we get into final thoughts, hit the like button, share, and all of those other different things like that.
The real reason men struggle to connect and how to fix it. It's not just a one-off, like, hey, just do this, like you can turn on the light switch. This is something that you have to work on. You have to continue to work on yourself. Development is one of the keys to this process, because when you develop who you are, you understand who you are, and you understand where to place boundaries, where to place those things that will help you flourish in life. And you also understand people that you don't need around you, people that you don't need in your circle or in your space, or where to place them so that they don't have a major role in your enhancement. And I think silence is not a bad thing in a relationship with people. Sometimes silence means that I'm thinking about it. I need time and space so that I can come with cognitive reasoning, not just an emotional response. And life is draining, work is draining, the kids are draining, the family's draining. Sometimes you need that person that will allow you to be that where you can just say, hey, I'm going through this and I'm going through that. And sometimes that'll be your turn, where you can be in that space where you can be the one receiving it. But it's ebb and flow that flows back and forth and not just one way. And when you have that type of relationship, that's how you fix the connection. The connection is not with me and 50 people, me and 75 people, but it's me and those people that I desire to connect with, and they desire to see me do better. That's all I have.
The real reason men struggle to connect and how to fix it, I think, you know, as you may have heard from tonight's show, I think it kind of starts with who you are and the person you see in the mirror. It starts from within. You know, I think before you can really have those deep connections with anybody, you need to know who you are. You need to have an understanding of who you are as a person and what and who you should be connecting to. Once you can kind of understand who you are and what and who you should be connecting to and what you shouldn't be connecting to, then the process to make these connections will become a lot easier. When I met Coach, you know what I mean, we had a good understanding because we were in our 40s. We had grown to a certain level of maturity to where, you know, we could see certain things in each other to make us want to connect. You know what I mean? To whereas, you know, 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to see some of those valuable traits and morals and different things in each other that allowed us to be able to connect on these platforms and all these different things like that. So I think that, you know, the real reason men struggle to connect initially starts with who they are and who they think they may be internally, and then I think from there it grows from there. And that's my final thought.
I greatly appreciate this conversation, and I love where Garfield left off just now, um, because I'll start off with a quote from George Bernard Shaw, and he said, "The greatest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place." And I say that because a lot of times to get to that point, to where we don't have superficial connections and things of that nature, we have to get to the point of discerning who the other person is as well. But I always start with me first. It has to start with me, because life is lived from the inside out. So connection requires vulnerability. I think when we don't become vulnerable, we're missing a golden opportunity for true bonds to exist when we allow ourselves to be open and authentic. Society has given us this kind of uh, superficial mandate of connection, which kind of makes it okay for us to like isolate ourselves from people and things of that nature. And I think we'll do well to start breaking those stereotypes. So begin making small steps in the right direction. Be intentional about relationship. Again, get away from the superficial notion of relationship. Get away from the idea of just existing in a space and calling it a relationship. Be more intentional. And last but not least, the thing that I would say is that it's never too late, regardless of whatever type of relationship you find yourself in right now. It is never too late to start doing those things, those check-ins that you heard us talk about a few seconds ago. It's never too late to start, picking up the phone and say, hey, I just want to call and check on you, see how you're doing today. I don't want anything in particular. And that's my final thought.
Man, I appreciate that. And all of you guys and I appreciate everything, every question, every comment, every letter and word that was typed in the chat. Greatly appreciated everybody that was here on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. Appreciate you for being here. Tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m., Hearts of Women podcast. Come back right here. Want to see you here. Tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. The discussion is entitled Mother and Daughters Walking in Wisdom and Grace. Again, mother and daughters walking in wisdom and grace. Shoot, I might invite some people to that. I ain't gonna say their names, but Charlene, you got anybody in mind you want to invite to this conversation? Tuesday afternoon, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Coach's Corner. Another episode will be over there. What am I missing? Y'all got what's going on Sunday? Anything Sunday?
Bible study at 10, starting at 9:30, really. From 9:30 to 11:30, and then TikTok Live starts at 11:30. I think it's on this young man here for TikTok Live. So yeah.
All right, there y'all got it, folks. Y'all know where to be. Again, man, I appreciate all you gentlemen. I appreciate y'all being. I appreciate being able to have the conversation specifically with YouTube brothers. So. With that being said, we will see y'all again here tomorrow. I'm not tomorrow, next Friday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Who's in the hot seat next week? Gaddy is? Okay.
I gotta look at my
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, come back here too. We'll see y'all next Friday night. And with that being said, we are outie.